with now in front of their screen. After, I will launch a quick video of 3 minutes 50 seconds to give an introduction of what is space tourism, what I had the chance to try and to live so far. And then I will have a PowerPoint presentation divided in several parts. It's part in English, part in French, but I will translate anyway, and it's a lot of photos that can really explain what is actually space tourism. So let me try to share the screen already. Okay, do you see a PowerPoint presentation?
Yes, sir. I can able to see.
Okay, very good. So I will start like this. So mainly, I will explain you what is actually space tourism. It's an introduction. Is it utopia or is it reality? And at the end of this presentation, everybody will be able to make his own reflection about the answer. So this is about space tourism. It's in French, so I will translate it just here. Actually, what is the definition of space tourism? Space tourism is the tourist activity which brings together all of the experiences, training flights, which allow people to go into space for non-professional reason. So it must be clearly said that if you want to go to space as a space tourist, you are not a professional. You will not be paid to go to space. You will have to pay yourself your ticket. It's like to take an aircraft, you pay for your seat. But in this case, it's not economy class, it's first class directly. Okay, here, my name is Boris Otter. I'm 50 years old. I live in Geneva, Switzerland. This photo was taken in April 2019 in Moscow, Star City, Gagarin Cosmonaut Training Center, where I was for the third time in order to make a personal cosmonaut training. Here I'm wearing a Sokol a spacesuit in front of Soyuz simulator, which I was trying later on. Okay, this is the airline experience and qualifications that I have. It's in French, but I will translate, no problem. The first one, I was a aircraft pilot, small planes. After I became a helicopter pilot. Then I passed my airline pilot license, frozen. Frozen, it means that you are making all theory, but you need 1,500 hours of flight to have it validated. And I did not have them because it happened during 11th of September 2001. So it was quite difficult for young pilots. Then I became a seaplane pilot and gyrocopter pilot. So this is gyrocopter. This is quite special tools to fly with because it's a kind of helicopter with an engine behind, and the engine is running with fuel, but the rotor upstairs is only moving due to air pressure. If you are moving fast, it will make it turn, but it's absolutely not used by engine. It's only due to the airflow that it's moving. It's quite tricky machine to fly, so you need to be very careful. I was making my first flight on this one. As you can see here, this was in Switzerland. It was a good experience. This is just a funny one I wanted to show you. It's a Twin Otter, which you can find not very far from India. It's in Maldives. And actually, I wanted to fly this aircraft, professionally speaking. And when I saw the chief pilot there, he told me, okay, but you need to make your seaplane rating first. And that's what I did. So I went to Canada. I passed a seaplane license, Canadian. And then I came back to him in Maldives. And he told me, sorry, but at that time, the regulations had changed. And it was only possible for locals to become pilot and not for foreigners, which I can understand, of course. So this was the aircraft I was flying during my professional pilot training. It's a Piper Seneca. It's a twin engine, instrument fly, night flight, commercial license, as you can see. I was flying this type of helicopter also. It's a Bell Jet Ranger, 5 seats available, absolutely incredible machine. And this was a Robinson R-22, 2 seats only. And I was also making aerobatic flights on this type of aircraft. It's a captain. With this, I was making a lot of flights with passengers who were able to try aerobatic flights. And this is the best flight I have ever done in my life. It's a Russian military jet called Sukhoi 27. And I can tell you that once you are inside this type of machine, type of aircraft, the only thing better than this you can do is to go to space, because this is the top of the top. And just before, I was making a training flight on this one. This is a LED 39. It's a Czech aircraft to make aerobatics to see if I was able to stand it or not. Okay, this is good for the first part. Now I will reach a little video for you. This is regarding zero gravity flight that I had the chance to leave in April 2016. It was my first experience of space tourist, actually, let's say like this. So do you see the video? You confirm it's all okay?
Yes, sir. Video is playing.
Okay, very good. Okay, so this was in Moscow. We are climbing inside the Aviation 76 MDK. This is a cargo aircraft which belongs to Gagarin Cosmonaut Training Center. Inside the aircraft, you can have maximum 14 passengers who are paying for their tickets. And it is also 7 instructors, meaning that for every 2 passengers, you have 1 instructor. So the aircraft is taking off from Shkalovsky Military Air Base. It is the same air base where Yuri Gagarin, the first cosmonaut, was taking off in 1961. So the aircraft is now taking off for a 30-minute flight. After 30 minutes flight, we are reaching the place where we will make a zero gravity parabola. So now we are launching the first parabola. The aircraft is climbing up, pilot is pushing the stick, and then during 25-28 seconds, you are floating like if you were in space. It is really the same feeling that to be in space.
Kindly mute your.
And this one, this is. You are flying inside the aircraft. It's absolutely an amazing situation and amazing things you can try if you want to make space tourism. This is water. I had this dream to put a little bowl of water in front of me, which I was trying. It was not easy. You can see you're pushing very hard. A lot of water is going out. And this is the feet on the ceiling. So the guy is holding me with only one hand. With one hand, he's holding my head, and voila. And here I'm floating everywhere. So when you are looking at this, it looks absolutely great, absolutely nice, absolutely amazing. But I'm telling you that after 7 or 8 parabola, you start to feel a little bit air sickness, because we are turning a lot up, down, left, right. You don't see outside. You are having a little bit of stress because it's something absolutely unusual. This is the first parabola. Everybody is smiling. Actually, it's the second one. The first, you are just not moving too much. But during the second parabola, everybody is smiling. And at the last one, it's less people smiling because it was physically quite tough, let's say like this, to support. So what I would suggest, if one of your students has the chance to fly zero gravity one time, he should take medicine before to somehow fight the symptoms of air sickness or seasickness. Me, I took nothing. I wanted to do it absolutely live without any medicine. But at the end of the day, I was regretting, and I was telling to me, okay, if I do it again, I will do it with a little pill of scopolamine or any medicine that can put down your risk of being sick. Okay, this is the end of the flight. I'm back. I was glad I survived. I did not throw up. However, I should say that we were 11 only in this flight paying passengers. 3 of them were throwing up and were really sick. And this guy here, it's Yuri Onufrienko. It's a Russian cosmonaut who went to space and was commander of the International Space Station. And he was flying with us, meaning that you are making zero-G flights with real cosmonauts who went to space, and this is absolutely amazing. Okay, I just see some traces on the screen. I don't know if it's normal or not. Maybe you see also these traces or not?
Yes, sir. Yes.
I don't know who is making
No
that.
issue, sir. You continue that. We will find it out.
Okay, so let me try now something else. We will go to the presentation of the 7 people on this planet who were space tourists. It's only, I say again, only 7 people who had the chance to go to space, being a real space tourist, and they paid for their tickets. So the first one, it was Mr. Denis Tito from USA. As you can see, he flew in 2001 and he paid 20 million US dollar. So you can imagine that the price to become a space tourist and to go to International Space Station is not given to anybody. I mean, you need to be very rich in order to reach such level. I mean, I will never go to International Space Station probably, but maybe I will do a suborbital flight, which is my goal. Second one, Mr. Mark Shuttleworth from South Africa. 1 year later, he paid 21 million US dollars. So you can see that the price is increasing a little bit more every time. Huh? Third one, Mr. Gregory Olson, $20 million. Then we have the first woman, Miss Anousheh Ansari. She paid $20 million also. And this one, Mr. Charles Simoni, he flew 2 times, not 1, but 2 times. He was able to afford a trip with a Soyuz rocket from Baikonur and to reach International Space Station. And this is absolutely amazing. Richard Garriott, he was the son of the astronaut Garriott, and he paid $30 million, so it's quite expensive also. And Guy Laliberté, so he has red nose because he's the founder of a circus, Circus du Soleil. He was the last one in 2009. So it means that since 2009, nobody as space tourist was able to go to space. And here it's in French, but I will translate. Why nobody went to space since 2009? Because it was decided by the Russian Space Agency director and NASA that inside International Space Station, it was absolutely needful to have 6 professional members, meaning that since they are going up by 3 and coming down by 3, it was no more place for space tourists inside. But now things will change with SpaceX, with Soyuz rocket again, and it will be now new possibilities for tourists to reach space soon. Okay, this is the end of the part 2. Space tourism actors. So who is able to send space tourists into space? Actually, everybody knows Virgin Galactic and Richard Branson. So this guy, it's almost 15 years that he's trying to send space tourists into space. He has built absolutely a great engine, a great aircraft, spacecraft, let's say like this, which has a name of Spaceship 2. It's inside this aircraft in the middle that the space tourists will go. It will be 6 places, and it will be another aircraft who is carrying this spaceship called White Knight 2. And actually, the plans are to build minimum 5 spaceships like this one. But for the moment, they did not reach Kármán line, which is 100 kilometers of altitude so far. They reached around 80 or 90, I think, which is the level to become an astronaut as per American regulation, but not as per international regulation. As per international regulations, to become officially an astronaut or a cosmonaut, you need to cross Kármán line, which is 100 kilometers high. So how much does it cost? $250 US for the ticket. And the flight is 2 hours, 30 minutes. It's quite expensive, you can see, but this is the only thing which space tourists can reach nowadays. I mean, with, let's say, reasonable price. I say again, reasonable price. Of course, not everybody can afford such amount, but I mean, if you have your own business, or if you have rich parents, or if you are lucky to win at the lottery, maybe you can by yourself offer your ticket to space. How does it work? So the aircraft is starting at altitude of let's say 13, 14 kilometers, and is putting his engine on after being released from the mother spacecraft, and is accelerating up to the altitude of, if they can reach, it's 100 kilometers, but they did not reach yet. And after, during 4-5 minutes, they are in full weightlessness, meaning 0G, no gravity, and they come back like a normal aircraft, get some G, some accelerations, and start to land. 2 hours, 30 minutes for Virgin Galactic. And they sold so far 650 tickets, meaning that if they start to launch the first clients, the first space tourists this year, it will be a waiting list that is quite long, meaning 2, maybe 3 years. So it will not be possible to cut the line. You will be number 651, 652. So just imagine how much you will wait in order to fly with Virgin Galactic. It can be 2, 3, even 4 years. Second chance is to fly with Blue Origin, whose founder is Mr. Jeff Bezos, who is owner and founder of Amazon.com. And he is, to my own opinion, offering the best option to fly to space. Why? Because it's a pure rocket. Yuri Gagarin took off with a rocket. Neil Armstrong, the first man on the moon, took off with a rocket. All cosmonauts and astronauts now are going to International Space Station with a rocket. So you will have the same feeling as those guys, meaning that you will take off vertically, reach space, get zero gravity for 4 or 5 minutes, and descend under parachute. This is, for me, the experience of becoming a cosmonaut or an astronaut as a space tourist. And why also to take them? They have the largest windows available, which will give you the overview effect on planet Earth, meaning that the view is really the best you can get. Also, length of the flights, it's only 10 to 12 minutes. This is almost nothing. I mean, you are climbing to space in 7-8 minutes. Then you have 4-5 minutes, let's say like this, of zero gravity. And then it's a free fall back to Earth. Parachute will open and you land. Let's say, okay, 12 minutes maximum. So I think it's absolutely awesome, because if you fly with Virgin Galactic, it takes 2 hours, 30 minutes. It's no toilets on board. If you are not feeling good and you are throwing up, it's not good also. Here in 12 minutes, nothing much can happen, I think. So for me, this is the best option. Only point, at this moment, they did not provide the price of their ticket. We expect the price to be around 200, 300,000 US dollars, but they will only announce it after their first test flight with passengers on board. And passengers will be their own crew. They will use their own crew to make the test flight. And these people will be very lucky because they will be paid to go to space. They will no need to buy their own tickets. Voila, this is how it looks like with Blue Origin. And the name of the rocket, it's New Shepard, in connection with American astronaut Alan Shepard. And look at the windows, are really, really big. Well, as seen from inside, you have this awesome view, overview effect on planet Earth. I think this should be a lifetime experience for the one who will be able to live it. How it works? I mean, it's easy. It's a rocket taking off. It's a separation between capsule and the part of the rocket that will land automatically to be reused. So it's reusable boosters. And after, the capsule will be in free flight during 4-5 minutes, meaning total zero gravity experience. And then after free fall, it will land under the parachute. Okay, next one, SpaceX. Everybody knows Elon Musk from USA. He's founder of PayPal and Tesla. And this guy now, he's working on several projects. One of them is to send professional astronauts from USA to ISS, International Space Station. He did not succeed yet, but he is on his way, and very soon the first American astronauts will be able to fly again from US territory to International Space Station, because now it's only Russians who are able to send cosmonaut and astronaut to International Space Station. By the way, China is also flying to space, and India probably very soon, I hope. Okay, he was planning also to build a big Falcon rocket in order to make a flight direct to the moon and back. So this is something not easy to make. I think that it can still take some more years before everything will be finalized. But actually, he sold a flight to the moon and back without landing, just to turn around the moon and back, to a Japanese billionaire who is ready to invite with him 6 or 7 artists. It can be people who are making painting, sculpture, photography, and all these people, when they will be back to Earth, will create some things they are able to create after what they saw, and after, of course, they will sell it. Next one, Boeing. So Boeing is also trying, like SpaceX, to send astronauts to the International Space Station, and it's called Starliner. Actually, they are planning also to send very soon some staff, but if I remember well, last time they did not reach International Space Station. They stopped just before, and they had to put the capsule down without that it reached International Space Station. And the last one, this is, let's say, my favorite. It's a Soyuz rocket. This is made in Russia. It's almost, let's say, working every time, let's say, between 98, 99% of success. They had one problem not so long ago, but the crew was absolutely saved by the ejection system, which you can see on the top of the rocket. It's pulling away all the crew far from the rest of the rockets that can have damage. And this is the thing I was able to try as space tourist in Russia, in Star City. You will see after some photos. Bigelow Aerospace. So this guy is absolutely a genius. He wants to offer possibility to space tourists to sleep in a space hotel, meaning that it's an international space station somehow, but for space tourists. And they created some inflatable modules, meaning that this one are connected to International Space Station in order to try it. But you can make your own model like this, for example, and it will be possible to send people inside these modules, people who will be space tourists, probably with a professional astronaut or cosmonaut, and people will stay as if they were in a hotel. But it has a price. I mean, the price I will show you after also. It's quite amazing. I think it's 55 million US dollar, just crazy. One more point. Quick talk about medical aspect, because if you have money, you may want to go to space and to become a space tourist. But medically, are you fit for that? And this is the main questions. And I should say that with my own experience of flying a military jet in Moscow and trying several equipment in Russia, I was always checked medically before. And they really check you carefully. So for example, they check your pressure. And if your pressure is too high, then you have a possibility of getting a no-go, meaning that you cannot try what you paid for. For example, zero-G flights can be an option if you want to wear a spacesuit or LAN and to go inside the swimming pool to make a kind of space flight simulated. You can also maybe not do it. So this is always the point. You are a little bit under stress, because if you are too high, they will give you one more chance. A little bit later, you relax, and if not, then you are out. And this is what happened to this guy. This guy, he was with me in April 2016. It's a German guy, and he was supposed to be one of the guy flying zero gravity. But he had such high blood pressure that the doctor, first they were looking at him with big eyes, telling, but did you make a medical visit before to go? Your doctor, he gave you clearance or what? And he said, yes. And they put him on the side for a while, and they gave him one more chance, but the pressure was still so high that the doctors, they said, okay, we are not taking responsibility. It can be risky for your health. So sorry, but you will have to stay on ground. So the miserable guy, he was staying here and watching actually the aircraft departing with his friend, because he came with a friend, and he could get only half of the money he paid. The rest he lost completely. Okay, this is all in French. Actually, if you are interested in getting it in detail, you will be able to download it from my Swiss Space Tourism internet site. It's a page in English also, medical points, and you will get all of this. Okay, now back to zero-G flight. You have seen the video before. Now I will give a few informations about how it's working exactly. So the aircraft, it's Yushin 76 MDK. It's belonging to Gagarin Cosmonaut Training Center. And actually all cosmonauts and astronauts who are going to space via Soyuz rocket are flying inside this aircraft. You have only 14 passengers inside who are paying, maximum 14. If to compare, you can fly in France also with an Airbus 310, I guess, and it's 40 people, 40. So it's less space for you when you are flying zero gravity. Less people, more space in this kind of situation. And you are making 10 parabolas of 25, 28 seconds each, meaning that you get up to 4-5 minutes of weightlessness and expect more or less 1 people out of 3 to get sick. So this is one of the aircraft. You can see behind the second model, they have 2 or 3 models, if I remember. Okay, this is a preparation. When you are entering the aircraft, you are getting parachutes. It's just in case the aircraft has a collision in flight with another aircraft or something is breaking, and you may have possibility to exit the aircraft with a parachute, but it never happened so far, they told us. This was the first parabola ever in my life. So if you look at my face, you can see how it's making you reflect. You're telling, wow, you're absolutely surprised, positively surprised by the feeling it's giving. Suddenly, you have no more weight. You are just floating. And technically, they asked us to keep the hand on this bar. I don't know if it's the correct word, on this metallic part, and not to float too much away because it's first parabola. But me, I could not, so I was a little bit floating just for fun. And one more point, you can see my hands. I have white gloves on my hands. Now just ask yourself, why do we wear white gloves? Just think, okay, why? It's because it's nice, it's because it's looking good. No, look, you see on the ceiling, it's some lights, very white and bright lights. And these lights are very, very hot. And if you are flying 0G, you may go to the ceiling very easily and put your hand by accident on the lamps. And in order not to burn your hand, you are receiving these white gloves. So it's a protection, actually. It's only used as a protection. Parabola number 2. So it's the parabola we make as a team, meaning here you have the 11 people who paid for their tickets, plus one more here. So this is just for fun. It's called Chiburashka. This guy, it's a Russian guy, and he did already 4 parabolic flights. And every time he's taking his little toy with him, and you can see on video on YouTube when he's flying, he's always playing with his little Chiburashka. He's a funny guy, really funny. And this guy was a German guy who came with the one who could not fly due to medical reason. It seems he did not understand exactly in which position you should watch. Okay. So this is a parabola of Superman, as we have seen in flight. It's my best memory of this zero gravity flight. You are really behaving like if you were Superman. But after a few meters, you are suddenly thinking, but how will I stop? Because it's no brakes. You cannot stop. Okay, it's one guy on the other side of the screen who has his feet put on the floor and is supposed to catch you. And if not, you have one more security device behind that will stop you before you are crashing. This book, I was reading it before to make my first flight, and it's called to fly weightlessness. I took it with me, and suddenly this book was flying weightlessness with me. It was like his first experience. Fifth parable. I decided to make this ball with the water because I saw many cosmonauts and astronauts who were doing it, and I wanted to do the same. Actually, I had this option to make it by myself, so I did it and it worked. So if you look, you see your face absolutely inverted. Feet on the ceiling without glue. This is something they like to do, and look at the face of the instructor. This one is smiling. This one is happy also. Everybody is happy because it's something unusual, really. Okay, here I was turning left, right, and after a while, your head starts really to be a little bit mixed up. Okay, this is eighth parabola. It's getting a little bit more difficult. You are getting a little bit hot somehow. You're sweating. You start to have dry mouth. It's the first symptoms of getting slowly sick. And from that time, I was thinking, okay, maybe it would have been better to take medicines at the same time. 9 parabola, I'm hitting the ceiling with my head. So it's 3 meters 40 of height, meaning that you push and hop, you're already touching with your head the ceiling. And this is the last one. It's a resume of all things that happened. Here I had a big impact with this lady. She was not very glad, but things happened. Here I was hit by a guy full in my face. Here I was hitting the ceiling. And here, this was the first parabola when my instructor, he had to give me his hand to help me to go back. Yeah. Okay, so what I know is that we have normally 40 minutes talk. So I can imagine that if some people wants to ask some questions now, they can do it. So I would suggest to people if they want to speak, to say something. Let me just close it.
So thank you for the session, and I request the students, those who are listening, if they are having any queries, please you can type in the chat so that I will read it out, and Boris Otter will be responsive to that. If anyone is having any query, just chat, type in the chat.
And we can make one more reunion if you want after, because I still have some things to show. Huh? After 40 minutes, if it's stopping, we can go back for a second part. No problem for me.
Okay. So I request the students also, if they are interested, I will unmute everyone. So if they are interested for continuing the session, please let me know so that we can have a break of 5 minutes and I will start the next session within a short span. Okay. So right now I am unmuting all. So those who are interested, please tell that we will start the next session also. Those who are interested, please let me know. How many students are there?
Right? Before you get to know, your eyes may be closed. That you didn't do.
Can we extend the session?
Yes, I'm still here.
Yes, sir. Yes,
I'm
sir.
still here.
Okay. So then I will create another one meeting.
Okay, no problem for me. You can create another one.
Yeah, so within a short span, like within 10 minutes, I will share that link again with students and to you. So we will continue the session. So in that session, we can ask the question QA. Actually, that's it. Okay, so I am ending the meeting, sir, right now. I will share you within the 10 minutes. Okay, within 10
Okay,
minutes.
no problem. I'm standing by.
Sure. Okay.
My goal, and probably some of you also want to go to space and to become space tourist. So you will need that. You need two things. First, you need to be medically fit. If physically you are okay, this is a major point. Second point, what you will need absolutely is to find money, and this is maybe the most difficult, because we can hardly be born being rich unless we are very lucky, or to win at a lottery. This is also something not easy. So either you work very hard and you make a lot of money, or you get some, like I want to do, some sponsorship or some assistance or gifts, whatever. But you need to have someone who is ready to push you up in space. So this is the point that I'm trying to do, and that's why I created in April 2019, 1 year ago, Swiss Space Tourism Association. Actually, Swiss Space Tourism Association is a non-profit association, but one of the goals of this association is that I'm going to space. So I'm using this association to promote myself via media, via TV, via radio interview, via conference like we are doing now. And like these people maybe will support the project. So what I did, actually, I had to create many things. I had to create a mission patch, a mission sticker. So for example, this is a mission sticker that I made. Officially, it looks like me in the middle, the astronaut, and around me it can be the stars or people coming up with me because it's 6th place in space spaceship. After I made the mission patch, this is absolutely a must. Every astronaut going to space has his own mission patch that is put on his flight suit. After I was thinking, why not to write a book? So I wrote this book, How to Become a Space Tourist. And this book is in English only. You can find it via Amazon, on internet, on electronic edition. It's just easy. You put on Google how to become a space tourist and you will find the link for whoever is interested. And now what I'm trying to do is to find this sponsor who will be able to help me to get this amount of $250,000 to pay for my tickets. And this is something that is possible. I will tell you why. Because the next space tourist who is supposed to go into the space station, International Space Station, it's a woman. She's from Austria, and she's a captain on a Boeing 777. So she's an airline pilot. And it seems that she got as sponsor the very famous drink Red Bull. You know, Red Bull. They are always following up some competitions of aircraft or something that is very nice and unusual. So it seems she got a sponsorship of Red Bull and she could go to space at the end of 2021 being paid by Red Bull. And this is one of the options. If not, why not, as I am in Switzerland, to get a sponsor from Rolex or Omega, you know, these watches, Swiss watches. This could be also an option. So now back to space tourism, how I created it. Let me open this. Voila, so this is a sticker I was telling you about. So it's an official association which is registered to the Trade Commerce of Geneva. Which goals I have? So it's to help and to assist scientist research, to show to the members also the fragility of the planet, as all astronauts are telling when they are going to space. They see how fragile it's the atmosphere around the planet. It's to promote also space tourism, to promote space access to the members, to transmit the knowledge that were given during these trainings, and to allow me, if possible, to go to space. Okay, this is some advantage. Okay, official logo. This is a sticker. This is a mission patch. I made T-shirt also, quite nice. Nice book also that was proposed for Christmas. And members, which members and where are they coming from? So you can see that I have members from almost all the world. It's missing actually India because I have a member in India also. Some of my members, Mr. Daniel Surber, this guy, he's a flight controller at NASA. Flight controller, so he's working with directly International Space Station. Alyssa Carson, she's very famous in USA because she wants to be the first woman to walk on Mars. If you put her name on Google, you will see she's quite famous. Vladimir Pletser, this guy, he was instructor in Zero G. Regis Sibyl, it's a guy from Belgium, and he's following more or less the same step as me. He's 50 years old, he's policeman. He wants also to go to space, so he was training in Star City. He made zero-G flight. He flew in a MiG-15 aircraft, and he's absolutely passionate about space. He went to Baikonur several times also to see a rocket launch. Nikolai Moisev, this guy was one of the guys who created the flight suit Sokol. Now he's working in USA and he's creating flight suit in USA, in America. Nancy Vermeulen. She is owner of a space training academy with whom Swiss Space Tourism is in connection, meaning that she's offering space tourism training like zero-G flights, like centrifuge, like simulated space flights, and hypobaric chamber. She has many options that she can provide to people who are interested in space tourism. And Pierre-Emmanuel Polis, it's an instructor in the Eurospace Center in Belgium. And Neil Shuttleworth, it's the man who helped me to make my book in England. And this guy, he was a military pilot on aircraft carrier on Rafale. It's a French-Canadian guy. Okay, next. Okay, Cosmonaut training modules. This is what you can do as space tourist, meaning that you just need to pay for what you want to do. Some parts are not so much expensive and some other parts are really expensive, meaning that if you have money to spend, you can almost fulfill all the ground training of a cosmonaut out of Star City in Russia. So you can fly inside Jet Trainer. I put upstairs the costs approximate to give you an idea. So this is a first flight to try to support aerobatics, G-forces, for example. Me, what I did when I went to Moscow, I made a 30-minute flights aerobatics pure, and it was quite tough, I should say. You can fly now the MiG-29, so that's price quite high. I mean, whoever can pay 12,500 euros has a lot of money to spend. And this is very short flights, but this is the best of the best you can do to become fighter pilot. Then zero-G flights. Zero-G flights, actually, it's only in 3 places you can attend. It's in Russia, in France, and in USA. And the prices are more or less the same. I mean, the cheapest one remains in Russia with the Yushin 76, and this is the one that will give you the more space, because 14 people maximum on board with a ceiling of 3 meters floating high, it's giving you a lot of space really to try zero-G, and this is the one I would advise. Centrifuge. This is a obligatory passage for every cosmonaut. You need to go inside and to try to support G-forces. So me, I went to make several photos inside, but at this moment, I did not use it in practice. This is one of my next training. By chance, I still have many things to try. I did not try everything, so it's still new things to discover for me. And this is the large one. It's much more powerful and much more expensive also. You can see the price. It can go up to 3,000 euros for 9 minutes only. Okay, this is my favorite. It's a Sokol spacesuit. Why it's my favorite? Because once you have your Sokol spacesuit on, you feel like a cosmonaut. And this Sokol spacesuit went to space. Every cosmonaut has his own space suit and is coming back with it after his space flight. And they don't throw them away, of course not. They keep all of spacesuit Sokol in Star City, and they use it for either training or for space tourists like me. They judge more or less what is my height, what is my size, and they give me one spacesuit that is corresponding to my body. And all of those spacesuits went to space. So you really have this feeling of almost having been into space once you have it on you. This one also is one of my next goal. It's called Orlan spacesuit, and this spacesuit is used for extravehicular activities, meaning when you are going outside the International Space Station and you are really in space. The previous one was not made for this. It was made only to protect the cosmonaut inside the Soyuz spacecraft. And with this one, you can go into the Hydrolab, which is a swimming pool, which contains a module of International Space Station. And you are going into the swimming pool and you swim around the space station as if you were making real extravehicular activities. But the price, it's quite expensive. Actually, this outside, if you want to try it in the pool, it's much more expensive. It's around 12,000 euros, I think. And you do it by 2 persons. Voilà, 12,500 euros. So this is really one of my next goal, to try to simulate extravehicular activity. And this is absolutely amazing, but because it is the only place where space tourists can do it. If you go to USA, nobody in NASA will let you try their equipments. I mean, it's completely reserved for professional, for highly professional who are trained. But here in Russia, you are getting the professional instructors who are forming the astronauts, and they teach you how to use the material and to do it. Really, this is unique things you can do. Well, one more point was to go inside the Soyuz air spacecraft, I mean capsule. And here, this is inside the simulator of Soyuz TMA. It's absolutely the same as in reality. You can see also on the left side my instructor, and next to him it's little window that normally is giving to outer space. And here I'm training during a 30 minutes session as if I'm the commander of this Soyuz spacecraft. Why? Because the commander is always Russian and is sitting in the middle seat. On the left side, you have the engineer, and normally if you are a space tourist, you are on the right side of the commander. And by the way, all photos you can see of previous space tourists who flew to international space stations, they were seated on the right side of the commander. This is the worst nightmare of all cosmonaut and astronaut during training. It's the rotating chair. Here, this is part of the process of selection to become a cosmonaut, meaning that you need to sit on a chair that is turning at a speed rate of 30 rotation per minute, meaning every minute it making out of every 2 seconds it's making a full round, and you need to turn your head left, right. Every time you hear a beep. I will show you a little video after for you to say what is it. And you need to stay like this for 10 minutes. And I can tell you that it is not easy the first time. It is really tough. After I had to do it for 1 minute 30 during this training session only. But after 1 minute 30, my mouth became dry. I started to sweat. I was getting hot, and it was really like a sickness, nausea. And when they stop the chair, do not move. If you try to stand up, you fall immediately. So you are just stopping, and you wait till your brain is coming back to normal, because your vestibular system is completely upside down. It's like to feel on a boat making deep sea fishing, and the funny. Flight simulator, many of the astronaut and cosmonaut are also pilots, either airplane, military aircraft, or helicopter. Me, I was flying both. I was flying helicopter on the right side and the airplane on the left side. So they train you to see what is your reactions in case of incident or situations which are decreasing, because you need always to stay quiet and to control yourself, not to panic. And this they can see very easily on a simulator. And this is something that is, let's say, not too much expensive. 400 euros. It is something you can try. This is very technical one. Here it's photo of me on the left side and my son on the right side. And we were trying the docking simulator between Soyuz spacecraft and International Space Station. You can see you have 2 little joysticks, and with these 2 little joysticks, you need to move your Soyuz spacecraft towards the International Space Station. And you have to check your vertical speed, your inclination, left, right, up, down. It is really not easy to do, but I was helped with an instructor, meaning that I was able to connect from the first time. But of course, you need 100 of hours of training in order to be able to fulfill it easily, let's say like this. But it is absolutely the same system that the Russian commander is using inside the Soyuz spacecraft. Don't forget that he has his so-called spacesuit on at this time, and it's not the same way of touching the material. Here you can access to the International Space Station mock-up, meaning it is like this inside the International Space Station. You can see behind my feet on the right side the two little joystick which help cosmonaut to move up the International Space Station. Why to move up? Because it is slowly but surely descending. It is not staying at the same altitude in space. And this is something people doesn't know probably, but it is slowly moving down. And from time to time, they need to put it up by putting some gas outside, and it's putting it up. Or it can be used also to avoid impact of satellites or meteorite, which could enter into collision with the International Space Station. So you can try several things. You can try the fire system to put alarm on. It is quite nice, but access, you see, is not cheap. I mean, you need to pay in order to access, because a lot of people are visiting the main hall where it's International Space Station, but very few are going inside because it costs a lot and they don't want people to go and to touch everything. This is a training place actually for cosmonauts. And here, this is a Mir International Space Station, which actually is not anymore in space, as you know. It was destroyed by coming back to the atmosphere. But it is possible to have the full training also inside Mir Space Station, where a lot of cosmonauts and astronauts were making their hours in space. And the price is also, let's say, okay, 300 euros for half an hour. It's nice to be inside. And you see something very strange behind my head. It's like legs and feet. And actually, this is a system which was used by Russian cosmonaut in order to block the blood in the down part of the body, because you know that in space, the blood is going on the head upstairs. I mean, it's not down by gravity, but it has a tendency to go up. And by this system, they were trying to put down the blood direction, the legs and the feet. This is the main hall. Actually, when you make visit of Star City in Moscow, you are visiting these three places. On the left side, this is the International Space Station hall, and this is where I was inside, and astronaut and cosmonaut are training there actually. Upstairs right, this is Mir. This is a module Mir that is still existing for people who wants to visit. And downstairs right, this is the most active place. It is a Soyuz simulator training, meaning that all crew who are taking off and landing with the Soyuz capsule, they are training inside these facilities. You can meet astronauts and cosmonauts, of course, in Moscow. It's Star City. Here I had the chance to meet two of them. So on the left side, we saw him before. It's Yuri Onufrienko, who was flying with us. I mean, the guy, he was in space. It's a real hero of Russia. He's the guy he was International Space Station commander, and he was just with us flying like this, and you are shaking his hand. You have full access. You can discuss. Absolutely incredible. On the right side, this was a big surprise. I met Sergei Zalyotin just after making my medical checkup in April 2019, and the guy, he was passing there. And for information, this guy went several times also into space, but now he's grounded for medical reason, meaning that he has a medical issue that is not giving him possibility to fly to space anymore. So it can happen also to real cosmonaut, and I was surprised to hear this. Okay, flights. This I think we saw already. This is one of the options, suborbital flight. The cost is $250,000. It did not start, but with coronavirus, I don't know if it will not be postponed for several months, maybe 1 year. I think it will have an impact definitely. But normally it was planned for this summer with Richard Branson making the first flight, but I think it will be delayed. Blue Origin, more or less same price, but they still did not announce the price, can be also a little bit postponed by several months. Okay, end of part 7. I will put you another one. Media, okay. Media, this is something, if you want to go to space as a space tourist, whatever, if you are doing a suborbital flight, meaning it's just above 100 kilometers of altitude or higher to the International Space Station, you will need to have media with you. It is absolutely a must, because if you are alone or just with a close group of friends, you will not get very far. Me, what I did, I launched a kind of media attack, let's say like this, and I was really offering something interesting for them with nice photos, with nice story, with nice goal, and they all came and say, yes, we want. And it is really impressive, because since 2016, I got so far 67 reportage, TV, radio, magazine, 67 times. Someone, journalist, was following my goal. And this list is available via my internet site, Swiss Space Tourism. If you go to press or media, you will see it's absolutely amazing. And it's international. Even in India, I had in a newspaper in India an article about this. Okay, for example, I had reportage in all those countries, so Switzerland, France, Belgium, Portugal, England, USA, Canada, Australia, Mauritius Island, even Singapore, India, Cameroon, Philippines. So you see, it's really a worldwide impact. I got TV, radio, several times even, and newspaper. I will just give you a few examples here. So for example, here I made first page on this newspaper. It's written, a citizen of Geneva is dreaming to go to space, something like this. Voilà, with nice photo in front of Soyuz simulator. Here it was also a nice article in front of Gagarin statue. Then I had another one. Geneva guy is offering himself a zero-G flight. And here also, you can see one of the photos with all explanations, one even in German. Okay, I will not go too long on this. Voila. So you see, it's important to get help. Ah, voila, this was the one in India. Maybe some of you saw it. It was in India not so long ago, in June 2019, 1st of June 2019. Okay, this is next part. Okay, I will show you a little video I told you about, wait, it's not this one. I told you about this seat, where is it? Centrifugeuse. Ah, voilà. Okay, I don't know if you see it. Do you see the video or not?
No, sir, I couldn't able to see.
Wait, something is okay. Take, I have some difficulties to make it. Okay, never mind. Nevertheless, I will try after. Okay, let's go to something else. I will give you conclusion now. Okay, so space tourism is a reality. As you can see, 7 people went into space, and these 7 people were not professional. They were people who paid for their ticket. However they did, this is their own business, but they were able to pay and they were accepted as space tourists. Now it has stopped because they needed to have 6 professionals on board International Space Station. Access to the International Space Station for space tourism is confirmed. And NASA said, yes, space tourism will be able to come back to International Space Station, meaning we have green light. And this is the plan of the next launch to International Space Station. And if you look downstairs right, you will see the name of Meisslinger with the flag of Germany. And it is planned for, let's say, December 2001. And it's written to tourists, meaning that they are ready to receive their first tourist around December 2021. It's in 1.5 years somehow. So it means that things are moving. Things are moving. So we are very close to reach suborbital flights. This is the view you can get from a Blue Origin rocket, New Shepard. And as I said, the window is absolutely huge. And imagine the view. Okay, you will not have this view, but you will have view on the planet that is just behind. This is something absolutely amazing again. This is Virgin Galactic when they made their first flight with the chief of the astronaut behind. It's this woman here. She was testing actually cabin as if she was a passenger, and she thought that it was absolutely amazing and awesome. So it was planned for half 2020, but we will see now what's going on with the world stories. The price here, it's a little resume. So if you want to make suborbital flight, it's okay, 250,000, let's say like this. If you want to fly to International Space Station, look the price. It's 58,000 US dollars. So okay, I think we should not dream too much about it. If you want to have a space hotel, around 55,000 million US dollar, and orbit lunar, it means if you want to go around the moon, you should expect 100 million US dollar. So you need to be a billionaire. If not, you will never be able to do it. So utopia, what is utopia? But this is utopia, I think, because hardly I can imagine space tourists going to the moon and with their iPhone to make a selfie like this. This is something that is really not possible. I think people should not expect this to become reality. Maybe, okay, to turn around the moon and to come back, this is possible, let's say like this, but to land and to make like this, no, I don't think. This one also, it's big dream, you know, to sit, to have your beer and to relax. We are not able to do it. The price is too much expensive and people should be really trained like highly professional. And this is also something, tomorrow we will all live in space. I don't think it's, now it's still science fiction. So what we can say is that it is absolutely possible to live space tourism. It is possible to go to space on suborbital flight. International Space Station will be soon again open for space tourism, but everything has a cost. You need to pay a lot for this. Okay, let me just try again this video because I don't mind to put it on, but just blocked with my PowerPoint. I just need to put it out, maybe like this. No. Alors, fichier, if I close this one. Okay, I will try again. And now I make like this. Tac. Okay, do you see the video now?
Yes, sir, it is visible.
Okay, voila. This is a worst nightmare of all astronaut and cosmonaut. As I said, you have 30 turns per minute, and every single second you need to put your head left, right, left, right. And to pass the test, you should support this for 10 minutes. And this was only 1 minute 30 when I was doing the test, because of course I'm a, let's say, space tourist, and my goal is not to vomit and to put it everywhere inside the place, because after it will be someone to wash and the smell is not very good. So 130 was already enough, but I did not reach my limit, so I cannot tell you how long I was able to support, but okay, I can imagine 4 or 5 minutes more or less, but after it will be tough. So would you be ready to try that?
Of course, everyone will be, sir. Of course.
Okay, well, this is, you can try easily. You take just a simple chair and someone is making a station. You can try at home for free of charge. This is something you can try without spending any money. But take a bag with you because you never know after 10 minutes how you will look like.
Okay. Sir, actually, we are having some questions and answers. We can conduct the question answer Q&A session. So if you can see in the chat box that students have given some their queries and all. First one is Ajay Rao. Problems faced by astronaut during re-entry.
So again, why? How?
Problems faced by astronauts during re-entry.
Okay, the problem is that your parachute should open at the end. I think this is the most important point because if you have a problem with your parachute and it's not opening, it happened one time in the 60s, and one of the cosmonaut, he just crashed straight to the ground because parachute did not open. So this is the point that would make me the most afraid. But of course, it is after the angle of entering the atmosphere that is absolutely important. If it's all done by automatic system, it should be okay because it's all calculated by a computer and you should reach your point. But if you have a problem inside the Soyuz and you need to do it manually, you have always the risk that your entry will not be as per it should be, meaning that you can either make a very tough entry and getting a lot of G's, up to 9 G's of acceleration, or it is also said that you can move back, not enter, but go away from atmosphere. So this is something that could lead to catastrophe.
Okay. So another one question from Daria. What do those two joysticks do in docking Soyuz spacecraft? You have told about two joysticks, right? So
Yeah.
why two?
So these two joysticks are giving you the possibility to put some gas that is pushing this Soyuz spacecraft forward, backwards, faster, slower, change the angle. It's moving the aircraft, the spacecraft in all directions in order to connect to the International Space Station. And you are reducing the speed also by using these two joysticks. If you are moving forward too fast, then you need to push the gas in front that will break the speed. And if you need to go back, for example, to the atmosphere, the aircraft will turn back, and by putting the engine also on, it will break the speed, and the Soyuz spacecraft will start to descend in the atmosphere. So generally speaking, it's to move the angle of the spacecraft in all directions, vertical, lateral, longitudinal, like this, and the speed also. And you need to move all at the same time. It's like to fly an helicopter. Huh? You know, you have one joystick in the middle. Here you can go up and down with your left hand, and you have also a throttle here, and you need to push with your pedal. It's all at the same time. It's a connection with your brain that should be quite good to make it correctly.
Okay. So another one question is from Aditya here. He is asking, like, if the tourist falls sick in space, okay, there is a law, right? No contamination policy of NASA. No contamination policy of NASA and outer space objects. So he is asking about that.
Okay, I understood no contamination regarding coronavirus or something like this.
If they fall sick, if they fall sick.
If they fall sick. Okay, so astronaut and cosmonaut, they get some kind of training on how to behave if something medical is happening in space, meaning that if you have tooth problems, they should be able to remove your tooth. If you are cutting yourself, they should be able to suit you. Again, they have some medicines also they can use. But if the case is really bad, it means that they need to go back to Earth. They need to cancel the mission, and the life of the crew is more important than the mission. They will go back to Earth. For example, if you have okay, let's say a heart attack in space, imagine the guy, if he doesn't have immediately some cure, he will die. So it's two options. Either you try to save his life and you send him back to Earth immediately or as soon as possible, or you try to help him in space, but he can die very fast because he won't have enough material and people with correct knowledge to save his life.
Okay. So another one question from Simran Pal Singh. He has asked, like, what is the proper pathway to become an astronaut?
Okay, to become an astronaut, first you need to live in a country where it has a space agency, I will think. For example, USA, Russia, or in Europe, if you have a part of countries that is taking part to European Space Agency. Well, in India, I think you have this possibility. You have a space agency, and soon you will probably also have possibility to fly some humans to space. I think that it is very important to be educated, of course. So meaning you need to go to university, you need to study maybe astronautics, engineering, biology, chemistry. I mean, you need to have an official document that is showing that you are kind of expert in your file. If you are pilot, it's also not so bad because we are always looking for astronaut pilots because it's people who know how to respect procedure and they have self-control and they are medically fit. So you can become an airline pilot or a military pilot. And this is more or less the only options. Either you are a big scientist or you are a guy who is coming from aviation, or maybe some doctors also, it can be good. And actually the latest astronaut selection in USA shows that it was people who got several of these points together. They were doctor and pilots, or a doctor and university level in something else, like astrophysics, whatever. So you need to be also very lucky because out of one place available, maybe you will have 8,000 people with a high rate of knowledge who will also apply. So why they should choose you instead of another one? You need to have maximum chances, meaning learn Russian, learn Chinese, make sports, be fit, learn about space, aviation, astronautics. You need to have really a lot of knowledge because you will need to pass interviews. And on these interviews, they will check if you are knowing the subject, let's say like this.
Okay. Another one, Himanshi, she asked, which layer made space suits so strong that it can cross Van Allen belt and on?
I'm sorry, I did not understand the question.
She's asking about which material made by in the space suits, so that's so strong that it crosses Van Allen belt unharmed.
Okay, what I understand is which material is made the spacesuit or something like this.
So strong, yes.
Okay, it's several layers of several materials. So I'm not technician on exactly how it is done, but I know that they put really several layers. It can be up to I don't know, 20, 25 layers. Some are to protect the heat, some are to protect from humidity, some are to protect from little camera that I had on my right hand. And here I'm making strange face because I'm getting several 2G acceleration. That is making it 2G. It means that you are weighting it 2 times your own weight. And it will be after the Superman parabola flight. This is the one everybody is waiting for. And hopefully the guy who is in charge of throwing you in front is doing it correctly, because if not, you will go either to the ceiling or down to the floor. So you can see now the guy is taking me from his arms above his head, and I'm waiting for my turn, and then hop, he's throwing me up, and then up, boom, big impact, and this guy is catching me. And this is probably the most interesting zero-G you can do because you are really floating like if you were flying inside a space station. Voilà, this is something space tourist can do, and this is the closest thing you can have like being an astronaut or a cosmonaut. I mean, you can simulate here only inside this kind of aircraft during such long time, 25, 28 seconds. Okay, I will put you one more. Let me try. Voila, here you should have the video also. So this is parabola number 4. Actually, I was going to fly with my favorite book, the book which is telling how to fly weightlessness. So it's always the same process, meaning that the aircraft is flying on level, standard cruise. Then the pilot is pulling on the stick behind, meaning the aircraft is going up, and you are weighting 2 times your weight. After he's shutting down the power and pushing forward the stick, which is at this moment, and then the aircraft is flying downstairs. Everything is floating. It's a kind of parabola. And during 28 seconds, you are just floating around. So here I had an instructor behind me who was holding me on the belt so that I'm not leaving everywhere inside the aircraft, because at the same time they were launching people on the Superman flight also, so I'm not having collision with them. And you can see that the, the book was happily flying 0G after being my instructor, let's say like this. Okay, I have one more PowerPoint that we did not go through. Where is it? It's this one. Okay. So this is, you see the PowerPoint now, it's okay?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It is
Okay.
visible.
Okay. So this is the meetings I had the chance to do with a real cosmonaut and astronaut who went to space. Maybe you will be able to recognize some of them. So the first one, this is the first man who was able to make an extravehicular space flight. It's Alexei Leonov, who died unfortunately not so long ago. So this is how he was doing his first space flight. And by the way, he had big troubles in order to come back inside his spaceship, because due to the pressure of his space suit, it was growing up, and after he was almost too big in order to enter to the hole back to the spaceship, and he had to put away some air from his own spacesuit in order to be able to go back. It was his life threatened because of this. So I saw him in Lausanne, Switzerland. It was 4 years ago, I think, and he was live explaining what was his experience. Then I saw this one also, the second man who walked on the moon, Buzz Aldrin. This is him, very famous photo of the first man on the moon. And he was here facing Alexei Leonov during the same show in Lausanne, Switzerland. Voilà, it was in 2015. And then I had the chance to see this one, Al Worden. So he did not walk on the moon. He was a pilot of the command module, meaning that he was turning around the moon during Apollo 15. And this was what he was flying in. And this is him with my very nice t-shirt of Swiss Space Tourism, as you can see. So I just met him in Zurich. It was a big meeting with all Apollo astronauts and other astronauts. And unfortunately, he died not so long ago. And Charlie Duke, he was flying Apollo 16, 10th man on the moon. This is him on the moon. And this is him with me. So again, I was absolutely impressed by such person, because when you are next to him, you know that this guy, he was walking on the moon. I mean, there were 12 on this planet. Only 4 are alive, and he is one of the 4. I saw someone who walked on the moon. It's just crazy. You are reading a book of history. This guy is part of history, space history, of course, but humanity in story also. And this one, Harrison Schmidt, he was a geolog, you know, working with stones, and he's the last man alive who walked on the moon. The last one, because he was on Apollo 17, which was the last mission. And his commander, Eugene Cernan, he died not so long ago. So this is me with him. So again, one guy who walked on the moon, and this one really the last one alive who had this chance. This is one and only Swiss astronaut, Claude Nicollier, whom I met in February 2019. And he was 4 times in space with a space shuttle, different space shuttle. And this is me in his office in Lausanne. We were discussing about Swiss space tourism and my project to go to space. He was giving me some support. This is a French astronaut who is also in charge of 0G flight in France, Jean-François Clairvoy. So he went 3 times to space. one of them being with Claude Nicollier. And I saw him in Geneva during a very nice presentation of the overview effect. It was a video showing the view of astronauts on the Earth. Frank Devine. Now this guy, it's a Belgian guy who is chief of the European astronaut. I went to visit the European Space Agency in Cologne, Germany, and I had the chance to catch him exactly there. So I took chance to make a quick selfie with him. So when you see such kind of person, you cannot ignore. I mean, go and speak directly to them because you will not have often opportunity to meet the real guys who went into space. Voilà, this is part of the guys that I saw. Of course, it was Yuri Onufrienko from Star City. And I have maybe one more thing to show you. It's not anymore connected with space tourism, but it may interest you. I made it about space conquest disaster because you know that space tourism is not only giving success. It was some drama in space tourism, and I just wanted to share to show that it is not easy to go to space and you may not come back from space somehow. So what happened? I will explain in French. Apollo 1, maybe you remember, 1967, it was 3 American astronauts who were trying an exercise inside Apollo capsule. And because inside they had pure oxygen, it was an electric problem, and it put the fire inside the cabin, and the 3 guys which are Virgil Grissom, Edward White, and Roger Chaffee, they all 3 of them died inside the capsule. This was their position, and the fire started under the feet of Virgil Grissom, and they had no chance to escape. So they burned just like this. And this could have been the end of Apollo program, but by chance they decided that we would not cancel this program, meaning that they would have been dying for nothing. So they used this to succeed after. And as I explained before about the re-entry of a Soyuz spacecraft, the most big risk you have is that your parachute is not opening. And it happened in 1967 with Soyuz 1, when the parachute of Russian cosmonaut Vladimir Komarov did not open. So this guy had no chance also. So this is how it should have been normally, meaning that the capsule is re-entering atmosphere, small parachute is opening and pulling out the second big parachute. But in this case, parachute did not open, and the capsule collapsed straight to the floor. Then we had in 1971, 3 dead with Soyuz 11. It was 3 cosmonauts who were in Soyuz Salyut 1 space station, Georgy Dobrovolsky, Viktor Patsayev, and Vladislav Volkov. These 3 guys, they stayed something like 3 weeks in space, but on the re-entry, it came a decompression of their capsule, meaning that all air inside capsule disappeared into space. And since those guys, they were not wearing a so-called space suit, they all died. And this led to the so-called capsule, to the so-called spacesuit construction by the end of that. So they found capsule on floor. They kicked out the guys and tried to rescue them, but they were already dead since a few minutes already. Then back to Space Shuttle Challenger in 1986. It was a takeoff of a Space Shuttle Challenger with one civilian on board. It was a teacher called Krista McAuliffe. She's upstairs, second left. And because of the cold that was around the Space Shuttle, it was very cold. It was some part of the boosters and joints that were damaged because of the cold. And you can see that it was becoming so small that some of the energy of the booster went out and started to melt somehow the main booster, and it led to a big explosion. and all 7 astronauts on board, they died. It led to almost 3 years interruption of flights for space shuttle until they understood exactly what was the problem and they could correct all mistakes that were done. And after that, also, they all started to have some protective equipment, also the crew. So it was these people, Francis Cobbe, Michael Smith, Gregory Jarvis, Judith Resnick, Krista McAuliffe, Ronald McNair, and Ellison Onizuka. And in 2003, it was the last major accident. It's Space Shuttle Columbia, after 16 days in space, when re-entering the atmosphere, due to a broken wing, left wing, the extremely hot atmosphere was going inside the space shuttle, starting to melt all parts inside, and the space shuttle completely collapsed and was destroyed at a very high altitude. So it was 7 crews on board again, including one guy from Israel on the right side, and all of them, they died. And I think it was one Indian girl also. Her name was Shavla in the middle. So what happened is that a part of the main booster collapsed, hit the leading edge of the left wing. It made a hole somehow, but nobody noticed it. They tried to watch, but they did not see anything. And it was a factor that was going to lead to the catastrophe. This is a space shuttle entering back planet. Voilà the 7 people who were on board. Kalpana Chawla. I think she was half Indian, half American. Voilà, let me see if I have something else. Okay, I showed you one. I don't know if it's my cosmonaut training or not. Let me just check if it's this one that you saw. Ah no, you did not see this one. Okay, I think it's the last one I will show you, because after I will be out of a PowerPoint presentation. Okay, I spent four stays in Russia. First one was in '94, where I was flying a military jet aircraft, and then in 2016, 18, and 19, and I had possibility to make my cosmonaut training during these 3 last times. So here you will see on the left side a statue that is very famous of Lenin, where all cosmonauts are making a photo with their family before to fly to space. And on the right side, it's like the main place, center of Star City, with a MiG-15. It's same type of aircraft in which Yuri Gagarin was flying on his last flight, because he died by crashing on board one of these MiG-15 aircraft. This was the first flight on the training aircraft. It was aerobatic flight, 30 minutes. This was the second flight on board this awesome Sukhoi 27. That is absolutely amazing aircraft. It was like Top Gun, I can tell you, really, with G-force equipment, the helm. Really, it was incredible. Then it was zero the flight. First experience as a cosmonaut. International Space Station and Mir Space Station, as we saw before. Centrifuge and the simulator hall of Soyuz. You can see every time on the right side, 3 cosmonauts with a Sokol spacesuit were sitting there just after finalizing their test of being ready to go to space. And here it was trying the Sokol spacesuit and the ISS docking simulator on the right side with a 2 little joystick. The simulator of helicopter and of aircraft, which you can train also. And my favorite rotating chair. This I wish you to try just for fun. You take normal chair and you close your eyes and someone is turning it around you. You will see it's not easy after a while. And this is photos that were made by a professional journalist, because on my 3rd stay in Star City, journalists from L'Illustré, they came with a professional photograph and professional journalist, and they made a full reportage on my personal private training in Russia. I was again back to the centrifuge and to Mir. And I started something new, Soyuz simulator, when I was trying for 30 minutes, many things inside. And the fact to be seated like cosmonaut was absolutely great. And then I was facing Orlan spacesuit which I was ready to use, but it was additional cost, and you need to pay for everything you want to do. Voila, so I think it's all for what I had to present you as a PowerPoint presentation. I hope that you enjoyed this little talk. I mean, we made almost 1 hour 30, something like this. Huh? It's not bad. And I'm looking forward to see, because you recorded, you told me, I think it's possible to share it.
Yes, sir. There was one question from Anjul Bharadwaj. She is asking about how the ISS will be slowing down. The speed will be there. It will be lost the speed. How it will be getting slow?
It's losing speed somehow, because it is not much atmosphere at such high altitude, but it is still some small part of atmosphere that is breaking the speed of the International Space Station. It's very few, but it's enough. I mean, it's a big portion, and slowly, by breaking the speed, it's descending slowly, and somehow the only way to solve this problem will be to have absolutely a clean atmosphere with nothing. But we are at 400 kilometers of altitude. It is still not a deep space, you know, and this is the fact that is breaking the speed of the International Space Station. And by using this gas engine, somehow you can move it up slowly again.
Okay.
Yes, so I have a question about this. In coming future, we are going to see more of in space tourism. How commercially it is viable or feasible for a common man to have accommodate with the price? See, now currently, as you said, 2.5 million US dollars is an average price for a seat for a couple of minutes in the suborbital space. Okay, so now this price is still more. So what do you think in coming future will be able to lower down the price, as all the companies are private in sector? We'll talk about Blue Origin or Virgin Galactic.
Yes, the price normally should decrease, but it is not for immediate effect, because first they will need to cover their cost, and to cover their cost they need to send a lot of people to space and to get money from them. Of course, it's a business. So Virgin Galactic, for example, they have 650 people on the waiting list who all paid around $250,000. But after they will need more people, and by having more people they will have more money, and they will be able to reduce the cost. Because once all the research phase of creating the spaceship and of creating all the equipment and the Cosmos Center also will be done, it will be possible to reduce the cost, but it will always be around, okay, let's say 50,000, 150,000 US dollars. You cannot get less somehow. So for us, space tourists who wants to fly, we have not much options. Either we are coming from a rich family and we can get money directly because we are a family of billionaires. This is not my case, unfortunately. Or we are working very hard and we create our own company that is successful and that is giving enough profit to go to space. Okay, but in this case, you need to be also someone very clever to create something that is making money. Or you can start to work all your life, and maybe when you are 55, 60 years old, you have enough money aside, and instead of buying a house, you use this money and you go to space, and this is your lifetime dream. But also you need to think, if you have family, you have kids, you have wife, you cannot spend all money for yourself. Sometimes it's good also to think about your family, not only about you. And the last point, I would say that you need to find a way to get this money by any mean. I mean, me, I was thinking, okay, how I can do that? How is it possible? And I was thinking, but okay, why not to write a book and to sell the book somehow? And this is what I did. So I wrote a book in English. This book now we can buy it worldwide. It's in English. And if maybe I have enough clients, I will get enough money. If I don't know, 100,000 people are buying the book, I will get maybe enough money to pay my ticket. This is the idea. But we need to think about the fact that this is not easy to go to space.
One more small question, sir. The Space Adventures, a travel agency of US, they are having a crash course training for space tourists, let's say of 3 months. Okay, So what's your take on that? Like, is it necessary to have 3 months of training and we are capable of going for on the orbit?
Actually, it is the same in Russia. You make a 6 months training. It costs around $250,000. And if you pass this 6 months training, technically you are ready to go to International Space Station. But this is only the training. It is not your ticket. Your ticket for space will still cost around 30 millions US dollar. You will just make the training. Meaning that if you don't want, you don't want to make just a 9-10 minutes flight with Blue Origin, but you want to spend 6 months of your life to train like a real cosmonaut, you have this possibility. You go to Russia, you make your visa, everything is done, and the people there will give you full training to qualify you to go to to fly to International Space Station. But you need to be medically fit also, because they will not take you if you are not able to finalize it. But yes, it is possible. You can make full training, including MiG-29 flight, zero-G flight, Orlan spacesuit, Sokol spacesuit, theory, Russian course. All this you can do absolutely in Russia. Yes, it's possible as space tourist.
Sir, how much is the cost of, if we go for 6 months of training inside, like you're saying, and how much US dollars does it cost?
Okay, the cost, as far as I remember, was around $250,000. It's more or less the cost of a suborbital flight. It's a company which is offering it. It's called Vegitel, Vegitel in Russia. So you can have a look. They are offering it to any space tourist who is interested and who is ready to afford it. Vegitel, Victor Echo Golf India Tango Echo Lima in Russia.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Sir, I had another question.
Yep.
Sir, there's a certain problem that comes with living in space. Your cerebrospinal fluid starts building up in your eyes and starts rendering you blind. So technically, those medical problems haven't yet been resolved for long-term living in space. So projects that promise to take people to the moon for 6 to 7 days, do you think it's going to happen anywhere in the recent future, as these problems haven't yet been solved medically?
Yeah, I think it is possible to send 6 people to the moon and back. And regarding medical problems, I remind you that astronauts, it will be one professional minimum astronaut on board who will be formed in order to take care of minor medical cases. If it's getting worse, you cannot escape from the fact that someone can die in space. It is something that is possible and that can happen. If you are behind the moon, it's no way to come back faster. So this is something that will be checked before departure, meaning that the doctors will check your body from up to down. Everything will be controlled. And if they see any possibility of disease from your side that could be a risk for your own health, they will not give you clearance to fly to space. And in this case, you will stay on ground. But it is always possible that something is happening. It's part of the risk if you're making such kind of trips. Okay, Pon, if you have no more questions, I think we will stop here.
You have said one Russian company, right? Training academy.
So the name of the Russian company is Vegitel, Victor Echo Golf India Tango Echo Lima. Vegitel. I think that Vegitel, if you put this name on internet, you will find it, and they give all information about what training you can do with them. It's also called, I think, Star City Tour or something like this. Star City Tour.
Okay. So is there any opportunity from your company you can provide to Indian students?
Well, actually, we are an association, as I explained you. So if you want, you can become a member of this association and you will get informations and the project of the association, which are now to share space tourism activities within the members. As I said, it's a space training academy that exists in Belgium, and we will collaborate soon with them. It's always the same. The question is about the price. Me, I'm absolutely happy and ready to collaborate with your students. They can send me an email if they are interested. Go to my internet website, Swiss Space Tourism. If you put to Google Swiss Space Tourism, you will find me. I mean, it's absolutely easy. And people who are interested to join, we can always find an options, because I was also inviting some people to become member without paying fees, because I know that it's expensive. Sometimes not everybody can afford, but I'm ready to offer some free inscription if some of your students are interested.
Okay. So I think that is from our side. So is the student want to ask any question?
Hello.
Yes, hello.
Yeah, I have another question. Like you said, the company that you were naming was it was a Russian company. Can you name any company that is just specifically from US?
It's Incredible Adventures who is offering such kind of events. Incredible Adventures, and it's Zero G Corporation, Zero G Corporation, who is offering zero G flights, as far as I know. But if you contact NASA, NASA will not provide a professional training. It's like, sorry to say it, but it's a Disneyland for people who wants to see the things. You can go and watch, but you cannot do. In Russia,
Right.
you can go watch and do with professionals.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, sir. We will finish this session. Thank you for joining with us. I hope our students will be learn something from you, and surely they will contact you. Maybe they will be disturbing you about these factors also, right?
Okay,
So,
they are welcome. They can send me an email via Swiss Space Tourism. It's contact details
yeah,
inside.
sure. I will share the details with them so that they will be contacting you frequently.
Okay, very nice. Thank you very much. It was a really great time. So bye-bye to all your students, and enjoy life in India.
Take care. Take care.
Okay, bye-bye. Thank you.